I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, and I know who's been naughty and who's been nice. I hope everyone had a Merry Christmas and got to spend time with loved ones for the holidays. December marks the end of deer and elk season and is a time where upland season is starting to wind down. It's that time of year where most hunting Americans give their hunting guns one last cleaning and oiling before returning them to the safe, where they'll sleep until the next hunting season. All of the last Fan Trivia giveaway winners should have received their swag boxes by now. 3 out of the 4 winners were actually from Europe, which demonstrates how much greater the attention span of Europeans is compared to us Americans. Team Europe kicked our ass again, guys. My North American, African, and Australian fans need to step up their game. Europe is just owning Fan Trivia giveaways, even though they had to stay up until 1 o'clock in the morning to watch it. My 1950s throwback hunt video generated a lot of emails this month, mostly from people wanting me to do similar hunts with their favorite vintage guns. But come on, guys, if you really want to see your favorite gun out hunting, grab your own gun and go out and hunt with it. This channel shouldn't be an attempt for you to enjoy the outdoors through me. This channel should inspire you to go out and have your own adventures outdoors. I also want to give a shout out to one of my super fans, Bob. Beck and I ran into Bob and his lovely wife at the Sportsman's Warehouse in Visalia. Both him and his wife invited us over to their house for a barbecue, but we were just beat and worn out and ready to head home after that morning hunt. So we had to respectfully decline, but say hello to Bob, guys. I'm also adding a bullshit button to my channel. It'll be used every time I call bullshit on something. Let's give it a try.
Warning, warning, bullshit alert.
So I added a bullshit button. But I received a lot of questions this month, so be prepared for a long episode of Hunt Camp Mail. Pause the video right now, put another log on the fire, grab your favorite beverage, and let's get to December's mail. And our first question is from Mario from Los Angeles, California. Mario wrote, I got my California hunting license 5 years ago, but never really used it except for a couple of dove hunts, because I figured that there wouldn't be any places to hunt around the most populated city in the United States, and I can't afford to go on long hunting trips. I started watching your videos last spring, and it took me 6 months of you telling me to download the Onyx app for me to finally do it. All I can say is thank you. I didn't realize in my wildest dreams that there was so much public land to hunt within a short drive of me. This year, I graduated from only being a dove hunter to being a deer and quail hunter and a reloader. The guidance you gave me and personal emails also helped. I know you don't like compliments, but you are a good dude. You may not know it, but I consider you to be my mentor. Thank you for all the great advice. Damn, Mario, that almost brought a tear to my eyes. And you're lucky to begin your hunting hobby right now. In this day and age, information about pretty much anything is offered at the click of a button. All you got to do is type in how to hunt quail or how to reload on YouTube, and you get 100 personal instructors teaching you what they know. It really is an amazing time in human history for gaining knowledge. And our next question is from Christopher. Christopher asked, what scopes would you recommend for a 300 H&H as well as a 375 H&H? I currently do not have a specific scope for either, and I'm very confused about choosing one for each rifle. If you could give me some insight, I would greatly appreciate it. Sure, Christopher. That 300 H&H Magnum probably deserves some good glass for those longer shots. I'd look for a scope with at least a 12 power setting at its highest magnification. And I'd also look for a scope probably with adjustable parallax. I'd look for a 42 or 44 millimeter objective scope, something like a Leupold VX5 or VX6, and 3 by 15 by 44 or 3 by 18 by 44. For the 375 H&H, lower power is probably more important than higher power. As long as the low setting on the scope is 3x or less, you should be fine. Classic 1 to 6 power scope or 3 to 9 or 2 to 10 power is great as long as you can crank the power down on those scopes in case you make like a 50-yard shot on a buffalo. Just make sure to buy quality scopes. Don't slap a cheap scope on those guns and go to Africa with them. And our next question is from Corey from Saskatchewan, Canada. Corey wrote, "Hello, Desert Dog. Still watching all your content and still get excited every time I see another one of your videos come out. Blows me away how much gear you've collected over the years. My question is, where is your favorite place to hunt mule deer, and have you ever been to Canada for any hunts? I've included a few pictures of an old character buck I took this year on my draw tag in Saskatchewan. And here's a picture of Corey's huge Saskatchewan buck. Damn, Corey, that is a monster buck. Huge body and some serious H measurements on that bad boy. To answer your question, my favorite type of mule deer hunting is hunting desert mule deer, especially in places like the Sonoran Desert. People think desert mule deer live in like barren deserts, but the fact is that they actually reside in some of the thickest vegetation on the planet. But it looks like I'm going to have to take a trip to Saskatchewan because that's a nice buck. And maybe I'll plan a trip there when our government stop overreacting to this COVID crap. You know, that's a beautiful buck you got there. And our next question is from LVK from South Africa. LVK wrote, "Hi, Desert Dog. Can you please talk about powder batch inconsistencies? Do you have any experience with the same powder not functioning the same?" Yeah, I've experienced inconsistencies between batches of powder lots of times. Sometimes huge inconsistencies too. Some of the ball powders and Alliant powders have been probably the absolute worst in my opinion in this regard. Reloader 22 can have outright dangerous inconsistencies from lot to lot in my experience. This is another reason why I like the Hodgdon Extreme powders so much. There'll always be some lot to lot inconsistencies with any brand of powder, but the Hodgdon Extreme powders always seem to be within 1% difference between lot to lot, in my opinion, and with my testing. So I really like those. But no matter what it is, anytime I start a new lot of powder, I usually load up about 6 rounds with both the old lot of powder and the new lot of powder exactly the same at the same time. And I shoot them at the range of past my lab radar on the exact same day. This way, I could see what the lot-to-lot differences really are and adjust my load accordingly. And our next question is from Matthew from Texas. Matthew wrote, "My question is about the post-64 Model 70 rifles. I have a rifle with a burnt-out barrel that I took down to a local gun shop, and the gunsmith there told me that push-feed Model 70s were a weak action, not worth the time or money, and I'm better off building a Remington 700 rifle. What's so bad about the Model 70 push-feed actions?" Well, to be honest with you, absolutely nothing is wrong with post-63 Model 70s. The push-feed Model 70s have a much better extractor than the Model 700. The Model 70 also has a much better safety than the Model 700, And, you know, the Model 70 has a machined-in recoil lug that's a much better design than the barrel washer used on the Remington Model 700. The Model 70 trigger is also a better design than the 700 trigger. The Post 63 Model 70 and the Remington 700 both have strong forged receivers that'll never fail on you. So the comment about weak receivers is total bullshit. And I'm using the bullshit button on this one. Bullshit! 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 The only problem, I guess, with the Post 63 Model 70 is that it's not controlled round feed like the pre-64s were. And, you know, you can also say one of the drawbacks to the push feed Model 70s was that they didn't make a short action receiver for a long time. Other than that, it's a fine rifle, actually better than the Remington 700. What you have here is a lazy or inexperienced gunsmith. The beauty of the Remington Model 700 is that its round receiver is extremely easy for a gunsmith to work on in bed. And he likely has all of the jigs and tooling to blueprint and rebarrel Model 700 receivers. You know, the Model 700 is also the king of aftermarket parts, so likely he has a whole parts bin full of parts and material that are compatible with that 700 receiver. More than likely, that gunsmith doesn't have the tools or knowledge to work on an old Model 70. So he's trying to talk you out of it. And, you know, I'd avoid that gunsmith. Today's modern gunsmiths seem like they just want to rebarrel Model 700s, work on Glocks and 1911s, slap together AR-15s, and spray Cerakote on things. So that's basically what you're getting nowadays. And our next question is from Josh. Josh wrote, "Dear Desert Dog, here's this year's buck taken at 100 yards in timber with my 35 Whalen and 225 grain Accubons. Muzzle velocity was 2,700 feet per second. He's not the biggest, but much like my hairline, the photo makes him look smaller than he is. At your convenience, please make a 35 Whalen video." And thanks for the letter, Josh. And here's a picture of Josh's buck that he shot with his 35 Whalen. Well, that's going to be a great eating buck, Josh. Those are actually the ones that taste the best. On the video request, I'll eventually post my 35 Whalen video, which was actually almost completed a long time ago, but I'm letting some time pass because so many people jumped on that video idea when I started talking about myself working on it in Hunt Camp Mail episodes. But to give those other YouTube creators credit, the same people that were begging me to do a 35 Whalen video were also begging those other channels to do the same. So you got what you wanted. But I will complete that video when I feel like it again. And trust me, unlike some of those other videos, I actually use that cartridge a great deal. I've loaded for it for over a decade. And I killed some big animals with my 35 Whalen, so I don't think that video is going to disappoint you. And our next question is from James. James wrote, "Desert Dog, could you do a video on the following platforms for home defense?" And James listed basically every type of assault rifle or semi-auto rifle platform ever made. So can you do the video on the following platforms for home defense, or maybe one versus another? This may not be your forte, but people want cartridge platform vids. Unfortunately, I'm just not interested in doing a video like that. YouTube is just oversaturated with mall ninjas, prepping, into the world stuff, tactical stuff, and wannabe special ops stuff. And adding to it and bringing that element into my subscriber base just isn't what I care to do. I own multiple examples of every weapon platform that you listed, and I've had a lot of formal training with many of them. But if you paid attention to my channel, or even my old channel before it got deleted, you know that I have a 12 gauge pump shotgun full of double-aught buck at the ready at my house. You know, between that, my countermeasures designed into my home, my alarm system, my German Shepherd, and my crazy wife, nobody really stands a chance. Our next question is from Rick from Mammoth Lakes, California. Rick wrote, "Hi, Desert Dog. Hunting in Africa has been on my bucket list for some time, but I'm hearing South Africa is quite dangerous for whites, and met a guy that just went to South Africa to hunt. He told me he met his guide at the airport, and the guy said to load up their guns and be prepared to shoot anyone that asked them to stop. He said he had a great hunt, but traveling to and from the airport was scary because of the civil strife that is going on. What is your experience and recommendations in this regard?" Well, before I go into answering your question, let me first respond to the story that guy told you about loading their hunting rifles in the van and being instructed to shoot people. Bullshit! 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 Rick, in the future, you need to take everything that guy tells you with a grain of salt. PH, picking you up at the OR Tambo airport, would never instruct his clients to load their hunting rifles up and get prepared to shoot citizens. But it is common for a PH or a driver to have a loaded Glock or other weapon on hand or on his hip while they're driving through Joburg. Also, many taxi drivers in Joburg are armed. And that's probably what the guy saw. And he decided to embellish the story to make his mundane adventure on a high-fenced South African hunting ranch seem kind of dangerous. Quite honestly, the thieves that you have to worry about on your hunting trip to South Africa are the ones that work at the airport. Airport thieves at OR Tambo have thieving at the airport down to a science. I mean, they're the world standard for theft at airports. The most dangerous thing about hunting in South Africa are the horrible roads and crazy, horrible, crappy drivers. On my last trip to RSA, I saw numerous fatal accidents on our drive to and from the hunting lodge. So, like anywhere in the world, traffic accidents are the real danger. But I'll admit it, South Africa is a screwed up country that is spiraling down the toilet right now due to bad management, which can be said of most of the countries in this world today, including ours. Honestly, Africans probably watched all the riots and burning buildings in the U.S. on TV this year and have to wonder if America is a safe place to visit. In fact, I probably wouldn't drive through downtown Los Angeles unarmed right now. If it worries you that bad, just book a trip to Namibia. You know, Namibia is a very safe and stable country, and it offers the same type of hunting that South Africa does. And our next question is from Fabian from Sacramento, California. Fabian wrote, "I watched your steel shot for upland video and was very impressed by it. That video is exactly what YouTube needed. I know you didn't get into turkey hunting in detail because you don't use steel on turkeys. Can you please let us know what turkey load and choke you use in California?" Well, to start, I'll emphatically state that steel shot sucks for turkey hunting, in my opinion. And since you're only going to fire 1 or 2 shots a season on turkeys, you owe it to yourself and the turkey to buy premium loads. And I've used a lot of bismuth and Magnum blends over the years, but I think that the Federal TSS loads are the best turkey loads ever made. You know, these pattern just incredible, and the knockdown power on turkeys will just amaze you with these things. I really love the 7 and 9 shot blend. That's what this is. This stuff is a real game changer, but it's very expensive. Luckily, a box of 5 shot shells should last you a couple of years. For the choke, you need a choke specifically rated for TSS because most chokes aren't. The best choke I found is the Indian Creek Black Diamond Strike. The 670 constriction is perfect for my my 12 gauge A400 Extreme. So I really like these Indian Creek chokes. Our next question is from Bill from Southern California. Bill wrote, "Love your videos and learn a lot, especially being here in SoCal. I did get your Dove belt set up from Amazon because I hate belts sliding down too. The vests aren't too bad with the game pouch in the back, but the suspender set makes a lot of sense because I don't have much of an ass for belts to make a firm purchase on. Anyway, I noticed your son shooting the new Beretta A300 Ultima and was wondering how you and he like it. I just purchased one today and waiting for dross. Does it cycle 7/8 inch loads reliably?" Well, first of all, I'm glad you like the Dove belt idea. It really is my favorite setup now. And good eye spotting the A300 Ultima in that video. This gun is a 20 gauge, not a 12, but it's handled everything from 3/4 ounce Dove loads to 3-inch Magnum loads for ducks and pheasant. I was actually one of the first people in the country to receive the 20 gauge model. You know, I won't give you the details of how I got this gun before anyone else could, but somebody did owe me a favor. I did pay full MSRP for this gun, so don't think I'm getting free stuff for fluff reviews because I'm not. So far, this gun has been fantastic. It's been utterly reliable and has more features than any shotgun in its price range. It's got the venerable old 391 internals mated with a modern A400 gas piston. So, you know, I really like this gun. There's been a lot of reports of trigger group issues with the first batch of A300 Ultimas that went out to the public, but we haven't experienced any of those. And honestly, most people that have problems with the A300s aren't familiar with the old 390 or 391 design, and they're assembling the gun wrong. You know, when the trigger won't pull or the bolt won't move, they blame the gun rather than realizing that they assembled it wrong. This used to irk gun shop employees all across the country. But my youngest son, Troy, absolutely loves this gun and isn't interested in going back to his 12 gauge 1187 anymore after using this. And this A300 Ultima and 20 gauge, he's used it the whole season. And who knows, you know, I might do a review of this gun. It's put down hundreds of birds this year without one malfunction, and it points great too. And our next question is from Hagen from Germany, and he always asks great questions. Hagen wrote, "Do you have a grail gun? Is it a firearm you've always wanted but haven't yet acquired?" Of course, I think everybody does. But I have an extensive collection of old guns that I keep for pure collector reasons. I have a lot of fancy or limited edition guns too that I'll never take out into the field and use hard. So the type of gun that I fall in love with is a gun that actually goes out into the field and gets used hard. When I see an old PH in Zimbabwe with an old 458 lot that's just wore down to bare metal, it's on a stock that looks like it's been used to paddle a raft down the Zambezi River, I'm in love with a gun like that. And I have many guns like that, and they'll never let me down. And they never have let me down, and they never will. But I have to say that I got the privilege of handling a new Rigby big game rifle chambered in 416 Rigby. That Rigby big game is simple and functional, but probably had the finest craftsmanship I've ever seen on a real hunting rifle. That double square bridge Mauser receiver with the 3-position safety, the Model 70 style safety, those perfectly placed express sights, and the gorgeous walnut on that rifle just pulled me in. And when I shouldered that gun, it was like it custom fit me. The stock design, sight picture, trigger feel, weight, and balance of that rifle were absolute perfection on a level I've never experienced before. So yeah, that Rigby is my grail rifle. And our next question is from Jay from South Carolina. Jay wrote, "Hey Desert Dog, I've recently started watching your videos, and I'd like to say you are among my favorites that I watch. What would you recommend as a starter rifle or cartridge for hunting whitetail? I turn 18 soon and want to get ready after the season ends." Well, I'm glad you're getting into hunting, Jay. As far as whitetail cartridges and good starter cartridges go, look no further than the 270 Winchester or the 7mm 08. The 270 is flat shooting, low recoil, and it's a cartridge that is right in the sweet spot for being the perfect whitetail cartridge. The 7mm 08 will do the same thing with relatively light recoil, but it's a little bit more of a versatile cartridge that you can grow into a little more if you want to shoot heavier bullets later. So I take a hard look at those two cartridges. And our next question is from Paul. Paul asks, what are your thoughts on the 6mm Rem versus 243 Win? Obviously, the current iteration is better than the 243 Win. But Remington really screwed up this cartridge so many times with bad twist rates, horrible name changes, and bad marketing that it really never got popular. And now with 6mm Creedmoors and 6mm Dashers and other 6mm Wonder cartridges roaming the gun ranges, the 6mm Remington pretty much missed its opportunity to shine. And our next question is from Sean in Eastern Colorado. Sean wrote, "Dear Desert Dog, I live in Eastern Colorado where pronghorn and coyote are the main animals that are hunted. I was thinking of getting a Model 70 featherweight and 25-06. The only thing that concerns me is the 22-inch long barrel. Do you think that you'll lose too much with that barrel length?" Yeah, I honestly don't like it, to tell you the truth. I don't know why manufacturers keep making short-barreled 25-06s. It makes no sense, and it's really stupid. But if you move up to the Model 70 Sporter version, or that has a 24-inch barrel, you can also get a Browning X-Bolt Hunter in 25-06, and that comes with a 24-inch barrel. And, I have one of those. I actually have both of those, and they're both great rifles. I'd go that route instead of getting the Model 70 featherweight. And both of those guns will probably outshoot that featherweight, to be honest with you. Our next question is from Damon from Texas. Damon wrote, on your 1950s hunt video, you totally poleaxed that huge hog with one shot. I know you're definitely from Texas because you use the word poleaxed. No one else uses that word. It seems like that big-ass boar flew off his feet and met his maker before going thud on the ground. Very descriptive. I shoot a ton of hogs in Texas with my 308 and never get a reaction like that on pigs that big. It kind of disproves what the so-called internet experts say about Barnes bullets not working. How hot was that 30-06 load? Well, I believe that load was going just under 2,900 feet per second with that 168 grain TTSX. And it's a real thumper, and it's the reason I love that 168 grain TTSX load so much. But to be honest with you, my load really can't take credit for that bang flop. It was pure shot placement. I used to take shoulder shots on just about all of my pigs, and sometimes they'd run a few yards, sometimes they wouldn't and would just flop over and die. But it was always a reliable kill shot with lots of room for air and a good blood trail just in case. But my wife would get pissed off though because I'd always ruin the picnic roasts and, part of the shoulder with that shot. So I met a guy who shot just thousands and thousands of pigs in Texas, and he told me about the neck shot. And to my surprise, that neck shot really puts down those pigs fast. But you need a perfect broadside shot opportunity to take that shot. But luckily, if you observe a lot of wild pigs, they pretty much never stop moving around while they're standing. So you simply have to wait for them to move around in circles and figure eights and do their thing. And they'll eventually go broadside for you if they don't know you're there. And I no longer ruin my wife's roasts with those shoulder shots. So I'm a believer in the neck shot for pigs now. And our next letter is from Peter in California. Peter wrote, just watched your new video on Chucker and the Temblers. We used to hunt quail in that area years ago. I remember seeing some big coveys there in the old days. Only occasionally we'd bump into some chucker. May try going there soon. It's been a few years. I mostly hunt chucker in the West Mojave. It's a tough year, as you said. The drought has been hard on the quail and chucker population. The birds are there, but they all seem to be holdover birds that know how to keep away from the guys with guns. Yeah. I only went quail hunting twice this year. When I went out and saw that the coveys in my secret spots that I'd always hunt went from triple digits last season to only a dozen or so birds this season, I chose to stop hunting them for the year. Luckily, the doves saved upland season for us. The doves were just thick like locusts, as thick as I'd ever seen them this year. So the doves did save upland season, but hopefully we get a really wet spring this year and the quail and chucker numbers get back up to where they were last year. And our next question is from Keith in Vermont. Keith wrote, Desert Dog, I love that you promote actual hunting where you stalk your prey within a few hundred yards. In that same context, what are the advantages and disadvantages of having a scope with adjustable parallax? That's an absolutely great question, Keith. Fixed parallax scopes aren't bad, and don't believe people who say they are. You just need to understand the limitations of a fixed parallax scope. So when do you need parallax adjustment? Well, in my opinion, parallax adjustment becomes necessary in two instances. Number one, if you're shooting over about 250 to 300 yards, parallax adjustment is beneficial. As you move out past 250 yards, most fixed parallax scopes start losing image sharpness to a noticeable degree. And reason number two, adjustable parallax is beneficial if your scope has a high magnification setting of about 10 power and up. When you get up above 10 power with most fixed parallax scopes, you start ending up with too much parallax error, in my opinion. This is when the reticle starts moving in the eye box and accuracy really starts to go to crap. But what if you like hunting with a scope on low power in the woods? Well, adjustable parallax probably isn't going to be that important in that situation. The lower the magnification, the less the parallax error. So, I also never spend money for an adjustable parallax scope on my rimfire rifles because, I never find it necessary with rimfire. So, adjustable parallax isn't necessary for most ethical hunting situations, honestly. People hunted for over 60 years without adjustable parallax on their scope. And, this is a fixed parallax scope that I pulled off of one of my 35 Whalen rifles. And I'll never shoot that rifle at over 250 yards. And this will always be used on the low power setting. So this doesn't need adjustable parallax. But to argue on the other end of the spectrum, with many modern variable power scopes having such a huge range of magnification, adjustable parallax is a benefit that I like to have. A scope like this, VX6 right here, will go from 3 power all the way up to 18 power. And I could set this on 3 power when I'm out hunting in thick woods all day, but I can also take this out to the range, crank it up to 18 power, and do load testing without taking my spotting scope. So with many modern scopes, you can have your cake and eat it too, but you need adjustable parallax in order to do that. And that's a great question. And our next question is from Greg in Nevada. Greg wrote, Desert Dog, I've been shopping for a new rifle this week at all the big outfitters and sporting goods stores. Browning, Bergara, Ruger, Tikka, and even Savage seem to be crazy about muzzle brakes right now. I don't know one experienced hunter that would ever show up in the field with a muzzle brake on a hunting rifle. Is this a new marketing hype trend to sell stuff to inexperienced hunters? Or are shooters really becoming so weak that a 6.5 Creedmoor hurts them? The one rifle that seems to not be following any trends was the Model 70. No muzzle brakes, controlled round feed, and an ultra-reliable hinged floor plate. That's what I ended up walking out with. And I was shocked that it also shoots half MOA with my hand loads. In your 1950s hunt video, you stated that hunting rifle technology is actually going backward. I think you are right. Thank God for the Model 70. That was actually some pretty insightful commentary, Greg. There is circumstances, though. For instance, I could see the usefulness of a threaded barrel if you like to use a suppressor while you're out hunting, which frankly I wish I could. They're illegal in my state. But you're spot on about hunting with muzzle brakes. And to your question, I really do think that a lot of men have become weak nowadays. And Muzzle brakes are part of that conditioning. I also think it has a lot to do with the industry's obsession with extreme long-range shooting right now, where muzzle brakes actually do have a value. Unfortunately, the industry decided to play the best of the West game and make quasi-hybrid rifles that you could use for both hunting and long-range shooting that really don't excel at either. What you end up with is a rifle that's too light for real long-distance work, but sucks for hunting because of the poor balance, muzzle brake, and often a lack of reliability. Your decision to go with the Model 70 because of the reasons that you laid out is actually a really wise one. You can hunt with that rifle anywhere on this planet for the rest of your life and never desire more out of it than what you have. And our next question is from Trey in Michigan. Trey wrote, I love your channel, Desert Dog. I love the cartridge reviews, and Hunt Camp Mail is really growing on me. As a third-generation Black American hunter, it's refreshing to see a channel that isn't obsessed by over-the-top politics. I hate both left-wing and right-wing extremists and feel that neither has a place in hunting or fishing. It's about conserving our wildlife, protecting our hunting heritage, and keeping our right to own firearms. In that regard, both political parties are trying to fuck us right now. 100% agree with that. Now to my question for you. It saddens me that the Black community in America has not embraced hunting. Blacks in Africa and the Middle East are an integral part of the hunting cultures there, but American and Canadian Blacks don't seem to be interested in hunting. I now seek the wisdom of the Desert Dog. What can we do to bring Black Americans into the hunting lifestyle that we enjoy? Wow, that's a pretty deep question, but thank you for the compliments on my channel, Trey, and for being a viewer of my channel. I really appreciate that. I know you don't like politics when it comes to hunting, but unfortunately, the answer to your question resides within politics. The American far left, which these days can be accurately characterized as the Democrat Party, seems to have a stranglehold on Black America. You know, even though many Black Americans don't share the views and the values of the far extreme left, they continue to serve that party without question. The far left absolutely hates hunting these days. So naturally, most Black Americans are going to follow that ideology. So in that context, the solution is simple. If you want Black Americans to embrace hunting, they need to abandon the Democrat Party. You know, although the solution seems simple, the implementation might be impossible. As long as the left keeps Black Americans in a state of victimhood and despair, they might never leave. You know, I'll tell you one thing. These problems have to be sorted out within the Black community itself. A white guy sitting in the White House telling you you ain't Black enough isn't going to fix these problems. And I mean, if you want to test my theory, take an objective look at Asians and Hispanics in America. Asians are largely conservative, and most of them embrace hunting and fishing. Hispanics right now are leaving the Democrat Party in droves, and many of those guys are embracing the hunting lifestyle and the Second Amendment now. So, although the solution for Black Americans seems simple, abandon the leftist ideology, implementing the solution in the Black community is extremely complex, you know, especially when so many people are profiting from the status quo right now. Our next question is from Brian in British Columbia, Canada. Brian wrote that 1950s throwback hunt was fantastic. old Mauser Sporter, old glass, and some old itchy wool to round things out. That's how Canadians handled business for almost a century, and many do today. In Canada, we know how perfect the 30-06 is. That's why we laugh at all the trendy cartridges you Yanks are always chasing. Most Canadians will buy one 30-06 rifle and use it until it breaks or gets passed on. It fascinates me how Americans keep chasing new cartridges every few years. What do you think creates that behavior? Well, you hosers up in the Great White North seem to have that figured out. You guys are doing the right thing. Americans are absolutely obsessed with having the latest and greatest of everything. Because of this, Americans are extremely susceptible to hype and advertising. This is also why targeting the American public for advertisements is the world's most profitable business. You know, it's not just guns either. It's cars, shoes, pets, cell phones, and everything else. If you do a good enough job bullshitting an American into thinking something is better than what they already have, they'll buy it in a heartbeat. This is why we have $500 Air Jordans, the 6.5 PRC, and high divorce rates. And our next question is from Tony from Wyoming. Tony wrote, I watched your Jackson Hole video and really enjoyed it. I love the reels you were using in some of the video, which appeared to be Click-Pawl reels. Who makes those? Well, you have a great eye, Tony. These are Click-Pawl reels made by Able. Able reels are top quality and 100% USA made in Montrose, Colorado. These are the TR series of reels that you saw me using in that video. You know, for most freshwater fishing that requires a 5 weight or less, I prefer an old Click-Pawl reel like this. You know, there's almost no feeling in this world like playing a huge trout while palming a 4-weight. I really love these reels. Our next question is from Pablo from Stockton, California. Pablo wrote, thank you for all your dove hunting content. You helped me change my way of doing things, and this turned out to be my best year ever. This was the first year where I stopped hunting where everybody else goes and found some of my own spots. I could never find where the late season doves were at, but your tips helped me find them this year. I also went from a modified choke to an improved cylinder, and I think my hit ratio went way up. I really want your wife's dove taco recipe, especially what spices she uses in the crock pot. Yeah, Pablo, for me, once you start scouting, observing animal behavior, and understanding their patterns, it's then that you become a real hunter. It doesn't matter if it's doves or deer. A successful hunting season is the result of the work that you put in before the hunting even starts. And good luck getting that dove recipe from my wife. She won't even give it to me. And our next question is from Shane in Boise, Idaho. Shane wrote, Desert Dog, I'm shopping for a new 30-06. I want a wood-stocked, bare bones, no frills rifle, what you often refer to as a working man's gun. I really would prefer a Model 70, but they don't support left-handed shooters like me. My local gun store has a Browning X-Bolt Hunter and a Tikka T3X Hunter and 30-06 left-handed. The gun store employee says to get the Tikka. Which one would you choose? Well, it's good to see a lot of 30-06 questions this month. Between those rifles, both of which I own, I'd take the X-Bolt without question. That X-Bolt has a way better extractor, And I like the bolt release design on it. It's almost like a 3-position safety. It's much safer. I also think the Moroku barrels on the X-Bolt will outshoot the Tikka barrels. So yeah, a lot of people don't believe that, but it's true. From my experience doing very in-depth reloading with both guns. But the biggest reason that I would stay away from that Tikka and 30-06 is that stupid 1-in-11 twist barrel. I don't know why anybody would do that with a 30-06. Tikka basically took the most versatile cartridge ever invented and made it a little bit less versatile with that stupid twist rate. I shoot a lot of heavier monolithic bullets at 30-06, so that standard 1-in-twist rate on the barrel is an advantage. So I just go get the X-Bolt. And our last question is from Wes in Arroyo Grande, California. Wes wrote, I loved how your 30-06 anchored that big boar. Here on the Central Coast, we are seeing a lot of wounded pigs running around because the 6.5 Creedmoor is becoming extremely popular with new hunters in California. Some Central Coast guides are considering putting a .270 caliber minimum requirement on their clients. Because you have lots of experience hunting in this area, what are your thoughts? Man, I've heard talk about stuff like this too for years, but I think that a .270 caliber minimum requirement for pigs is a bad idea. A 130 grain bullet from a .270 isn't going to magically do more damage to a pig than a 140 grain bullet from a 6.5 rifle. I've bang flopped several hogs with the 127 grain LRX in 6.5 caliber. I personally prefer a 30 caliber for big hogs because I've seen the difference in reaction from them, but I would never feel undergunned with a 6.5 hunting pigs. And these copper bullets that we're forced to use in this state, they penetrate really deep, so a 6.5 isn't going to fail to reach the vitals on a pig. I think the key word that you used in your question was new hunters in California. New hunters in California honestly tend to be crappy shots. New hunters also tend to give in to gun store hype and buy 6.5s. New hunters with 6.5s also tend to believe the Hornady marketing hype and think they're 1,000-yard snipers with their new rifle. And to compound this problem with all these new hunters, most of these new hunters are paying for private hunts, and a lot of these lazy California guides don't insist that their clients verify their zero before the hunt starts. So they just go out there without verifying the zero, and the guide lets them do it. So, you can also add into this ethics instruction or lack of ethics instruction at our hunter's education course here in California, which is now entirely done online. So most of the people are doing it for other people. And, you add all of this together, these new hunters, the 6.5, the guides, hunting ethics, and you have a recipe for a lot of injured pigs running around on the Central Coast. But how can people possibly blame this on the 6.5 caliber? I'm hitting the BS button on this one. Bullshit! 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 So here's some hunting and fishing memes for December. I think it's a good time for all of us to reflect on this last year and on the loved ones that we've lost and those that are still around so we can enjoy their company. 2021 has honestly been the toughest year of my entire life. Not from a financial or material standpoint. You know, money and material things can be replaced. The loss that I suffered this year was devastating to the heart and insufferable in its permanence. This summer, my oldest son was on his way from Missoula, Montana to Billings when he was struck by another car who swept across all the lanes after merging onto the highway and ran him off the road. And this awful person fled the scene and left my son to die. Luckily, the Montana Highway Patrol worked diligently around the clock for months, interviewing people and watching footage from every camera they can find, even the dash cams from trucking companies. And they finally ended up catching the woman, and she's in custody right now. But enough talk of things that can't be undone. The reason I'm telling you this story is so that you don't take for granted every moment you get to have with your children and your loved ones. Luckily, my son lived a very full and gratifying life for 28 years and left this world on great terms with everybody that he knew. He was a high school history and economics teacher and an avid outdoorsman with a level of patience and tolerance that I can only wish to possess. I'm about as emotionally tough and stable as a man can get. And that was the first time I shed a tear in the last 25, 26 years. And losing a child is something that shakes you to the core. Then barely a month after that, my wife found herself fighting for her life in the hospital as a result of COVID. And thank God she recovered. You know, I felt like I came close to losing her too this year. Honestly, spending time out in nature and making videos like this one gave me a mental break from reality. If I seemed happy in my time of tragedy, it was because viewers like you provided me with that. And I thank you very much. And experiences like mine are enough to humble a man and made me realize that there really is no permanence to the human existence. And during this holiday season, I hope this story inspires you to call your loved ones and let them know how you feel. You know, I hope it prompts you to heal sour relationships and bury grudges that you have with other people so that nobody leaves this world with baggage like that. Everything we worry about on a daily basis, money, politics, drama, it really means nothing in the big picture. These are just things that keep our minds occupied between times of elation and tragedy. So hold your loved ones close, connect with an old friend, and stop making enemies of other people. Life is truly too short. Well, I wish you health, prosperity, and happiness, and hope the holidays are spent with family and friends. If not in person, then in heart. You can reach me with any questions or comments at desertdogoutdoors@gmail.com. As always, thanks for watching and good hunting.